4.
Chairman.
ANC, Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner.
4 what?
4C.
Ward 4?
That's correct.
And we're streaming live.
Streaming live now. You don't need the headset if you don't want to.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to hear your commercial. Your commercial gonna play.
Hey, Armstrong, you ever would you come on DC? What's he called it? Black pilot. What's her name? Something chick, GOP chick.
This is probably the first DC show we've done since I've been doing radio.
Oh, for real?
I rarely have people from DC. It's a national show. I never think local.
Right. Well, you can't.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
You definitely can't.
no, sir.
Yeah, 15 seconds.
You probably should set your Hari up in case he decides to show up on the other end, Anthony.
What? Mr. Barnes not staying long, remember?
Yeah, I'll be happy to jump out the way.
Hmm?
I'll be happy to jump out the way.
Yeah, but you'll be back to watch them. Can you hear it? Hear it? Come like this.
Everyone, this is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up, hey. Armstrong, get on the right side. Armstrong,
Elevate your mind.
Armstrong,
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Hey, yo, man, it's your boy KO. And you're tuned into the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
I often wonder, and when I'm away from the broadcast and away from the politics and the business, sometimes when I'm awake and at 4 o'clock in the morning and preparing to go to the gym, I ask myself sometimes, what has happened to our beloved DC? What has happened to this city? We oftentimes are so focused on the national politics, from Congress to the judiciary to the executive branch, that we forget sometimes about our local government. You know, a government that was once run by Mayor Walter Washington, Marion Barry, Sharon Pratt Dixon, Anthony Williams, Fenty, Adrian Fenty. And you ask yourself, what is going on? And then you read about the scandals, whether it's the SUV, whether it's somebody using funds that were designated for children to finance luxury for their lives and their cronies. And you ask yourself, what has gone wrong in our beloved city? Is this the city that is so rich in history? This is our nation's capital. Do people understand what it means when you're the mayor of your nation's capital, what kind of principles, and you're supposed to set the best examples for ethics and principles and for discipline and restraint. We don't expect you to be perfect, but my God, we don't expect you to be corrupt. Anybody can fall short. And you ask, what has happened to Washington, D.C.? And so this is, of course, Armstrong Williams, and we're live on WTNT, AM 730, in our beloved Washington, D.C. So we scorched the earth in our nation's capital. I said, Lord, just find me 100 men of integrity to talk about what is wrong with our beloved D.C. We couldn't find 100. I said, well, just give me 75. They scorched the earth. We couldn't find 75. I said, oh, just give me 50. Just find me 50 good, ethical, God-fearing men who believe in the people, willing to sacrifice, don't care about money, don't care about fame, don't care about seeing their name on the pages of the newspapers or seeing their picture on the broadcast networks. I said, couldn't find 50. I said, find me 25. Couldn't find me 25. I said, you can't find me 25 good people that can run this city. I say, well, just go and find me 15. They couldn't find me 15. They could not find me 10. I said, well, forget about leadership. Forget about those that aspire for leadership. Find me the common man. Find me the everyday person that make the sacrifices that make the city better. Find me those decent men so we can have them in our studios to talk about our beloved Washington, D.C. And lo and behold, what did they find? Ron Moten. You know, Ron Moten, depending on who you're talking to, has so many reputations. Gangster. He can curse like a sailor. Anthony looked at me like I was crazy. I said he has many reputations. I'm just telling you the reputations I've heard about. Yeah, he's principled. He's done a lot of good, but you can't control him. He does things he wants, whatever he wants to do. But they never said the man was corrupt. They never said the man was dishonest. They never said the man didn't believe anything. And I said, if that's all you got to say about the man, that sounds like a good man, a decent man, a God-fearing man. And then they said, this brother by the name of Joseph Vaughn, who deals with financial literacy, he cares about empowering the nation with financial literacy. I said, well, listen, this brother's chairman of the ANC in Ward 4. I said, let us invite these men. We also invited Jahari Abraham, but you know, things happen. Sometimes people make the best efforts to get to your studio, and we don't know the circumstances that prevent it. But we give them the benefit of the doubt because we're not here to malign and criticize and judge people. We're here to uplift and find the best in all of us. And so I'm just so pleased with what we have. Ron Moten, who's running for mayor. Not mayor, he's running for city council. You need to run for mayor. And Joseph Vaughn. Why can't Joseph, we find good people? Where are the good people? They talk this good talk about ethics, character, honor, and then you elect them and they become corrupt. Are you saying they were corrupt before they ever enter office? Were they corrupt by the process? What's going on? And Washington mirrors the country, the world. What is happening to our nation's capital?
Well, you know, Washington, like any city, has a multitude of folks who have a strong interest in seeing good governance, seeing its city succeed, a good quality of life, good people come along, and they have an interest in serving the public and the community. And the process and the institutions just wear you down. I mean, this bureaucracy wasn't built overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. But, you know, you have to move forward in a slow and measured approach and find good people and let them lead.
I remember reading about Ron Moten when he said that the councilman was corrupt. What's his name? What's the one they just indicted?
Which one?
Oh, which one? Lord have mercy. The most recent one, Ron.
Oh, Harry Thomas.
Harry Thomas. You said he was corrupt. Now, let me tell you something. It takes a man of courage and principle and backbone to tell a so-called leader they're corrupt. To tell them that time will catch up with you. And everybody dismisses you. They rail against you. They try to make you the problem because you don't supposed to talk about corruption. You're supposed to turn a blind eye to it and let it continue to bleed and destroy the system. But you said no. No. No matter what it costs me, I'm going to stand against corruption. You said this man was corrupt. And guess what? He admitted that he was corrupt. I heard it out of his mouth. You know, I remember the song, "Let the works I've done, may the works I've done speak for me." The man said he was corrupt. Where do you find this courage, this backbone, to speak candidly about, obviously you care deeply about the city, but it's not easy going against the status quo. It's not. You pay a price.
Sodom. I mean, it's like Galata. You know, one of the things that I was taught by the civil rights leaders who try to overcome some of the same odds, you know, fighting a big giant, you know, trying to hit him with a slingshot, with a rock, and not a gun, was that the truth is always right, but it's not always popular. And one of the things that we as leaders in our community have to stand for is truth. And you also have to know that when you tell the truth, you're going to be attacked. You know, we who believe in Scripture all know that Jesus did some great things, but it wasn't like he was praised for doing great things. He was crucified for doing great things. So if you're going to be a leader, you're going to go through some storms, and your character is going to be attacked if you attack those who are given the perception that they are doing what's in the best interest of the people. You know, Thomas Jefferson talked about this. And he said, man and Americans will no longer be happy when their labors will be abused by people in government who give the perception that they're doing something in their best interest. And that's something what we see today. We see people who get in office and will lie, go to meetings and call people like me a liar when I confront them on what they're doing wrong, and make up things on me in order to keep on taking from the people. So, you know, I've been slandered, but when I was in the streets, you know, worse things have happened to me. I mean, I just had to deal with a situation today, a housing project that we had where government officials were supposed to be helping, but then come to find out that people were behind the scenes doing some shady stuff. And then they try to, well, I'm not going to say they tried, because they didn't try to flip it on me. They just put it out and asked for an investigation. But what if I wasn't doing what's right? What if I didn't always know that you always have to tell the truth and you always have to do what's in the best interest of the people, and I went along with something wrong? Then I'd be in trouble today. But we have to teach people, the citizens, that they are the government and people in office work for them. But because people in Washington, D.C. look up to government officials and don't let them know that they work for us and we don't work for them, then they will continue to treat us like we nobodies, and continue to have special interests, and continue to be brought out by unions, and continue to be brought out by these bundlers where they bundle money to elected officials in D.C. And then when they get in office, those people who bundle money expect something in return. And a lot of times, that's not what's in the best interest of the people.
Yes, go ahead.
And the most debilitating part of sort of what you see in terms of it's the lack of confidence. And that is when a good person does come to office or does come forward with a good idea or is looking to establish a foundation that wants to work constructively to improve our community, there's a lack of trust. And what happens is you begin to work on these projects, you begin to try and help your community. I see it at a grassroots level routinely that there are people who want to promote themselves and attack you just for trying to represent your community. And a lot of times you're volunteering your time at the sacrifice of your own family.
This is Armstrong Williams. We're on our live stream today, and you can join us at www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. That's www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. We want you to join this conversation. I think what was really crystallized it for me, something that we often don't talk about much today, was when the Office of Finance, when they were there, and they had the scheme where so many employees were involved, and they just stole the money out of Office of Finance, where so many people participated and benefited from it. And they were going to places like Neiman Marcus and buying these shoes and buying these clothes and spending money. And this scheme was so elaborate, it would have lasted had they not become greedy. But how do you take an entire office who has the oath of trust from the public and corrupt them? We'll be back. We're going to come back to that. We'll be back. I'm Armstrong Williams. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Hello, my name is Ron Moten. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoten.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
You know, it would just be unthinkable to me to think that I was put in a position of trust with the financial war chest and revenues of a city that I could come up with a scheme to rob them blindly and have the arrogance to believe that I could corrupt almost an entire office and get away with it. Where do they get where does this come from?
Well, it's institutional bureaucracy. I mean, you're talking about someone who was in a position to hire and select their own team, and so they put co-conspirators and then co-opted other colleagues within the office. And if not for a person going to a SunTrust trying to cash a $300,000 check during off business hours, it would not have been found. You had a proactive employee at a SunTrust branch in Virginia who basically called the FBI and voiced the concerns, and it led to this being exposed. But the truth of the matter is, we're talking about unethical, unscrupulous, and criminal behavior, and there's no place for that in society. And even the best laws can't remedy criminal activity.
Is it fair to say, and you're listening to Ron Moten, who is a candidate? What are you running for full disclosure?
Ward 7 councilman.
Ward 7
as a civil rights Republican.
As a civil rights Republican, I like that. I don't mean no harm, but I like Republicans. You know that, don't you, Joseph?
I know that.
I like Republicans.
I read you a mile away.
I don't have a problem. Listen, I don't have a problem with Republicans. Look, they tried Democrats here. And what do we have to show for it? Why can't we celebrate a little diversity in the city? I'm all for civil rights Republicans, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. But is it that, Ron, the good people just won't run for office?
Well, I think it's two things. I think some good people do run for office, but you have to be a real strong person when you get in office. A lot of people pull on you and twist your arms. You got people who support your campaigns, and some people are not strong enough to tell people. Like, a lot of people get in the office by lying to people and tell them that they're going to do things that they really don't intend to do. And then when you get in a hot seat, a lot of times those people are able to force you to do the things that you know are not right. The other thing that happens is a lot of politicians surround themselves around people who will not tell them the truth and when they're wrong. And we all need people around us who don't always agree with us, because we're all human. So when you're not doing something wrong, we're just like children, like I said before. A child, if you don't correct them when they make mistakes, then eventually that child will destroy his own future and the people around him. A lot of politicians are the same way. They have good intentions, and if we don't have people around us to correct us when we're wrong, or when we see something wrong and pull us up, like you would do anybody who you love and care about, then you're going to fall and be a victim to your own circumstances, your surroundings, and the people you have around us. And I think that's something that we not only see in Washington, D.C., I think that's something that wise men make a mistake of just putting people around them who are going to just bow down and just do anything and not tell them when they're wrong. And that's something that we all must correct in our lives.
Joseph, I don't really know any of the politicians or the elected officials in Washington, D.C. I knew Marion Barry when he was at the epitome of his success. Sometimes we do a TV show together where he's on one side and I'm on the other. We may go to dinner afterwards. But in terms of really knowing someone, I really don't. But I am surprised that there's a recall of the mayor in this city that seems to be gaining momentum. Now, help us understand, why would they want to recall the mayor of this city?
Well, there are a range of issues with the Gray administration that have been a concern. I know that they're working stridently to try and correct those issues, but just to name a few, you may recall that in the initial, when his administration came into power, following their most recent election, there were some concerns regarding some of the staffers who were hired, accusations of nepotism. And to be honest with you, recently they've worked hard to rectify that image and try to work with the constituents. I see the upcoming February 11th One City Summit. And just if you think about the concept of one city, how do you unify the citizens into a common sense of purpose? The question, though, is folks are just so cynical. And even if you're coming at it with an altruistic view of trying to improve the city and the lives of the citizens, how do you actually make that occur? How do you make it? And when I look at the city council, I'll be honest with you, you mentioned the downfall, the troubles that have been faced by Harry Thomas and others, but I for one work stridently with Councilmember Mira Bowser, who introduced the ethics legislation. And as flawed as it may be, the truth of the matter is it's a start. It's a piece of legislation. It's a set of standards that are going to be implemented in the District of Columbia for the first time, and the proof is in the pudding. We'll have to see how the legislation actually impacts behaviors down the line, but it's a start. And so the bottom line is there are good people in the Gray administration. The question is, can they overcome the challenges they face, and will the city rally behind them? And the question is, where does the recall effort go from here?
Ron Moten, where is it that a difference should be made in our nation's capital, but in your opinion, it's been just absolutely neglected?
Well, one is building new leadership. In Washington, D.C., the same people pretty much have been in power for the last 30 years. And it's really hurt, especially the African-American community, where we don't have any young leaders who were prepared to pass the torch to. So you have the same people in power for everything. I went to a meeting with the Urban Land Institute maybe about 3 months ago. It was all young white guys, and they're being taught about doing economic development and development. They were preparing the next generation of developers for this area. We don't have that in D.C. You got guys who are filthy rich, and they're not giving anything back to the next generation of young peoples who could, do what's right. Same thing in politics. We don't prepare young people for politics or to be leaders for our communities. So you have the same people, and it's like if you go in Ward 7 or you go in Ward 8 or Ward 5, it's like a small group of people who don't decide who gets in office. So the rest of the people don't practice citizenship. You only have 10% of the citizens who vote. Most people are residents and not citizens. So they just reside. So when you just reside, you're taken advantage of. So if we don't teach people and get people in our communities to be empowered, I was looking in Florida, and they were talking about that our Latino brothers and sisters are 22% of the population, but 13% of them, but they 13% of the electoral vote. That means they have a higher population or amount of people who vote, who are Latinos, and people are addressing their needs.
And we know with economic power, I mean, you mentioned that's a very valid point. Clearly, in the city, we need to folks need to get out and vote. You need to elect people going to represent your interests. And too often, with apathy is sort of protracted onto citizens all over the city. Citizens do care. Citizens need to get out and vote, because if you stop any person on the street and talk to them about what's happening in this city, they all have an opinion. Now you need to elect people who reflect that view and are going to help you achieve it and help make life improve life for you and your family.
What future is there for the younger generation in this city?
Well, it depends on who you're talking about. I mean, if you look at our impoverished areas, nothing has gotten better. I mean, the unemployment rate has gotten higher. I mean, we just spent $3.4 billion at Homeland Security, and nobody from D.C. is working there. We have at least 5,000 jobs coming there, but our school system and all these workforce development programs have no ITT or internet security programs where training would be administered to youth in east of the river so they can get those jobs. So what would happen, people will come from out of town as usual and get those jobs. We don't have any entrepreneurship or micro enterprise building for our youth. If a guy can, I said this before, if a guy can cook crack in the kitchen, he can be a master chef or he can be a chemist. You know what I'm saying? But we're not teaching our children how to take those skills that they have and use them in a positive way. You know, we teaching our children how to become dependent on the system, and we do not need any more safety nets. We need springboards and trampolines. And if we give our people springboards and trampolines, the same thing that the civil rights Republicans like Booker T. Washington had, Frederick Douglass had, Carver, Woodson, Nellie Helen Burroughs, Harriet Tubman, these are all the people who we need to follow, because these are the people who were self-reliant. These are the people who were spiritual, you know, and they really entrusted in God and knew that if they did something wrong, the karma will come back around. So even people like those are people who I got to embrace, because the people who I've been looking at, these are not people who I would want my children to follow. So our children have no future if the leadership has gone astray. How can somebody in Ward 5 tell the children, you know, that they shouldn't sell drugs or do this if you're going to steal $300,000 from those same children? And then we feel sorry for the family. I feel sorry for Harry Thomas's family and his mother, who was a great person. But how do you not feel sorry for the 15 people who were killed in Trinidad that one year that he stole $300,000 alone? Just one neighborhood, one PSA, 15 children were killed. We had roadblocks up, and nobody's gone back to those families and say, well, I feel sorry for you. We saying we feel sorry for a politician that stole. And that's the mentality that we have in this city. And then when somebody comes up and stands up, you destroy them. If you know what I've gone through with my family, you know, my grandmother, when she got to call me, when she hears something on the news, when somebody try to slander your name or a fire truck that somebody put out and say it was worth $340,000 and then it's sold for scrap metal, and everybody all the way back to Rolock was sending trucks to the Dominican Republic and all Africa, you know, because they just sit. They don't go anywhere. A good deed. So these people will take anything and try to destroy you if you speak out against what's wrong. And this is a culture that exists here. And if we don't correct this, how can we expect our children to do what's right? The apple don't fall too far from the tree. And it's not the seed, it's the soil that the seed has been going into that has produced what we've been seeing in the nation's capital and beyond.
We live in a service-based economy here in the District of Columbia region, and I think one of the things that's unique about D.C. is the amount of economic development that has occurred in our city. In any ward you go to right now, there's ongoing economic development, whether it's the Anacostia waterfront, the 8th Street corridor, 14th Street, the Great Streets projects on George Avenue. I really believe that can be a catalyst. You ask the question, how do you get out of the malaise, and how do you provide young people with a future? We need to make sure that we're leveraging the economic opportunities, that when contractors come in and begin to build out those projects, that there's a plan for the schools.
You know, when we come back, I want to talk about the fact that D.C. is the richest region in the country. Why is that not reflected in the demographics in the city itself? I'm Armstrong Williams, Joseph Vaughn, Ron Moten. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moten. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoten.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So just help me understand this. If the city is so economically advanced and D.C. is the richest area in the country, why doesn't that reflect in the demographics in this city?
Well, the truth is, we've seen median home values increase in this region. We've seen a lot of wealth come back into the city. And this is not unique to the District of Columbia. This is happening in urban areas across this country. The truth of the matter is, though, that wealth is not spreading to the majority of people in our city because you're talking about the federal government. If you're not involved in the federal government, there are very unique industries where you can really be a part of that economic growth. And I mentioned before the break the importance of the economic development sector because I think that's the most tangible place where the long-time citizens of the District of Columbia can play a part in that process. It's having folks on that construction site. It's the contracting opportunities for small and disadvantaged businesses. It's expanding opportunities for those in businesses, for minority and women-owned business in the city. That's the key to sharing the wealth, spreading the wealth with the folks who have been here, and giving an opportunity for the dispossessed to be a part of that process.
And also, education is key. When you live in a city where you can determine that the education the child is going to get by their zip code, you know we have a problem. So in Washington, D.C., you know what type of education the child is going to get by their zip code, so you know who's going to be prepared for jobs and who's not going to be prepared for jobs. So unfortunately, I know people who come far away from West Virginia and Pennsylvania to work in D.C. because people here don't have the skill set for the jobs. Then you also have a thing where you have 60,000 or better returned citizens. Some people call them ex-offenders in this city. Many of them can't get jobs because of their prior offenses. So we don't put things in place to empower them and give them a second chance or give them skills where they can start their own businesses, because returned citizens hire returned citizens, that's going to also be a problem. So, the education is the key in preparing people for the jobs. Like you said, there's the wealth of jobs here, but are the people here prepared for the jobs? And in pockets of the city, the poverty level is high. 40% of the people in the ward that I want to represent live on food stamps. 40%. That's 4 out of every 10 people in Ward 7 receive food stamps. That's a problem.
Ron is absolutely right in terms of education and its importance, and we have to give credit to the great administration where it's due. One of the programs that he's expanded in the District of Columbia is the community college system. At one time, the University of the District of Columbia was the only institution of higher learning for many District of Columbia residents. Now you have community college campuses on North Capitol Street in Ward 8, Ward 7. He's working to try and make an opportunity for citizens to develop skills that are of value in this marketplace. And in the State of the Union the other night, Barack Obama talked about one of the keys in his agenda and his platform is to try to leverage community colleges to help those who are out of work develop skills that are going to allow them to be more employable in the future.
And to that, I think that's a good idea, but we have to make sure we're not wasting dollars. Like you said, that was an excellent idea that Mayor Gray put the community college in place. But if we don't have the programs and training and education in those facilities that will employ people, it's just a waste of money. And right now, there's no way that 2 miles from the community college east of the river in Washington, D.C., we have the Homeland Security Project, but not training anybody for the jobs that's coming. So, yes, that's a good first step, but we must expeditiously put trainings and things in place for the jobs that are coming to our city. And then we can get something done. But the other thing is we have to empower people to do for self. And it's not always working for the government. It's not always working for a construction company. We have some of the smartest people I've ever seen in my life in the streets. But why can't we teach those young men and brothers and sisters, black, white, red, whatever, green, whatever color they are, to use those skills to do what's right and to make money and be entrepreneurs and do the right thing what this country was built on.
I want to go back to something you said, and you're listening to Ron Moten, who's a candidate for Ward 7 in Washington, D.C., and Joseph Vaughn, who's chairman of the ANC for Ward 4. If 40% of food stamp recipients are in your ward, where are the rest?
Well, I can't speak directly to that, but I can tell you this. The face of poverty is not what most folks in this country think. I think a lot of folks look at urban communities and think we are the face of poverty, but the truth is, in an economy like ours, a lot of folks are hurting, and a lot of folks have a need for assistance and support. And that's why government, while they're not the answer to the question, they're a part of the solution, and we need to make sure that the government of District of Columbia is moving forward with programs that are going to empower people to get out of the demand for those types of services and food stamps and welfare and find jobs. So you have to sort of try to unify employers with your workforce.
And Armstrong, well, I have something that I'm going to be presenting soon. Not going to say it today, but I have a plan to take people from welfare to workfare. You know what I'm saying? We got to get away from welfare. You know, we got to empower our people. Now, right now in the District of Columbia, because we let people sit around from generation to generation, and one generation comes on welfare, the next generation comes. Now, all these people have not been built up and prepared to do for self. Now they're being pushed out of our beautiful city by the same people who say, I love you. They tell the people, you have to meet these qualifications, and none of the people meet these qualifications. And these are the same people who've been feeding you a check and cheese and giving you a turkey on Thanksgiving for the last 40 years. And now they're kicking us out the city. And everybody know you can't get around it. It ain't nobody outside, that side or this side. It's the people who been representing you, who prepared you for this mess, and now they pushing you out the city.
And I have to echo something that Ron touched on earlier, which is entrepreneurship. A lot of folks discredit entrepreneurship and don't really see, and what he was referring to in terms of what we see in our community, they call it the hustle. You know, folks are not selling drugs. I'm talking about they may make their own clothes. They may paint hats. They may create their own sneakers. A lot of the hip-hop culture that you see being exported all around the world began in urban communities, and we have to leverage that. And you know, you think about what's happening here in District of Columbia, and there are opportunities there. How do you get the young entrepreneurs to begin thinking globally rather than thinking and acting locally?
That's right.
You know, I'll tell you, it's so good to have different spices and slices of America on the airways, because there's so many people who live in the district who think they know so much about the district, but yet they live in isolated circumstances. And I'm one of those. I'm learning so much here. I feel like I'm a pupil in the classroom, because, you know, you think you can learn about the city by just reading the Washington Post or the Washington Times or listening to the local news. But you know what? In fact, it can make you even more dangerous, because it becomes so distorted and so naive that it's just not real. You guys live this every day. What is it that everyday people like us, Ron, can do to make a difference in this city? Because obviously we're isolated. And I mean, listen, in this neighborhood, I mean, someone asked me once about the crime in D.C. I said, D.C. doesn't have a crime problem. I rarely experience. I'm telling you, to me, it doesn't have a crime problem. It's a great city to live, but it's about where you live. And what is unfortunate is that people actually live where they can afford. Affordability determines where a person sets up residence.
Well, people in our city, a lot of people say it's safe. But, you know, that's depending on who you are. You know, if you go right up on, like, the 2800 block of MLK Avenue, crime is up 600%. But then you can go 5 miles in another direction, and it's down 16%. So it depends on where you live at. It also depends on what information you get. To the way you feel and the way you think. Some people feel safe. Some people feel unsafe. Most of the people I talk to, who I deal with, feel like, you know, it's more dangerous now than it's been in a long time, because no matter where you go, somebody's trying to rob, steal, or kill you. Then you can go somewhere else, and it's like night and day. So, I mean, and then the other thing is, you know, good medicine. We tend to judge safety based upon how many people have been killed. If you look at data, you'll show where so many lives have been saved on modern times over the last 5 years who normally would have died 10 years ago. So you had over 1,500 people shot who were treated in one hospital alone, which was Washington Hospital Center MedStar. You had 1,200 stabbed. You had, over 1,300 stabbed and 1,200 assaulted over a 4-year period, and only 200 died. That's a lot of people. But one hospital, 200 died out of all these injuries. So I'm just saying, good medicine has a lot to do with it. If we were in the 80s, a lot of those people would have died because medicine wasn't as good as it is today.
It's absolutely true that we've gone through a metamorphosis, if you will, when it comes to crime in our communities, because, as Ron points out, there are pockets of crime, there are pockets of areas where we need to have better support. We need to focus our resources to try and help those folks out of that are desperate. There's not a mother in the city that doesn't want their child to be able to walk down the street with a new pair of Jordans or new clothes on without for fear of him being shot, robbed, killed. The truth of the matter is, you asked the question, how do we improve the community, and what do people do? And this is about a cultural divide. I can tell you, when I ran for re-election in 2010, it was amazing to me to knock on doors. Invariably, the newer residents of the city, they supported dog parks. They supported the new swing sets and a new playground. Whereas a lot of the indigenous residents said, well, why aren't we building a new park and recreation center for the young people to go to someplace where they can go and play and get job training? And at the end of the day, my recommendation to folks is volunteer. Get out of your home. Don't be afraid. When you see young people standing out on the corner, these people are not out there to rob you. These people are out there because at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they don't have anywhere to go. We need to, and you can be a part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
Listen, Joseph, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you've got to get out of here. You stayed longer than expected. Ron Moten and I are going to come back with some final talk. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Ron Moten is a candidate for Ward 7. Was it a tough decision to make to run?
Yes and no. I'm not really a politician.
I can tell.
I don't.
But that's why you're so effective, though.
Yeah. The hardest part is knowing that your children and family could possibly be affected by your actions. So, when your children, have to worry about people trying to attack, the father, and you spend so much time already away from your children, that's the hardest part. In your family, I just finally started spending more time with my family because, a lot of leaders in the community, you spend more time helping other people sometimes than you spend helping yourself. And that's something that I had to be conscious of, And that's the hardest part. You're in for a fight. It's like 12 rounds. You never get a chance to sit down. You fighting all the time for the people. And,
but you seem to be genuinely, because I'm in the studio with you, so disappointed and disheartened by the corruption of people that you had such hope for.
Well, I'm disheartened by what I've seen and been taught by civil rights leaders that would happen. The people who sacrifice everything are treated the worst, and that's what hurts. It's not about the money. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about when like I worked for 9 years for free. The minute I got a dime for helping people, it was a problem. But as long as I didn't get a dime, everybody praised me, and it was the people who weren't doing the work who tried to tear me down. It was the people who believed in putting our children in a system and then letting them back out and then they go kill somebody and then Title 16 and charged as an adult who had a problem with me for speaking out about that. It was the people who build these pretty recreation centers and then they close at 7 o'clock at night and our children have nowhere to go. DC has the biggest and best facilities in the world for our children now. But when you go in there, how do you shut the wreck at 7 o'clock? How do you have 4 neighborhoods surrounding the recreation center and only one of them can come in there because they beefing? And then you have nobody to squash the beefs anymore because you destroyed them because they was telling the truth. That's what hurts. The other stuff doesn't bother me. That's what hurts. When you realize and you start figuring out that people really don't care about these people, that's what hurts.
Share with our audience what you and your good friend Jahar Abraham were able to accomplish with Pizzaholics, because I think that is just a remarkable story.
Well, we started from zero. We helped over 360, majority of them returned citizens, to get jobs, people who came home from jail. We got 160 children, the majority of them in gangs and crews, in the college, some in grad school. We did 41 truces over a 3-year period when we started keeping the data. 41 truces. Most people don't know that the average homicide can cost up to $1 million. The Vera Institute did a study where they showed that a shooting costs $50,000 when someone dies, but $100,000 when someone doesn't die. And that's not counting the other money for the doctor, the lawyer, the prison time, the mental health services, and everything else, where it can go up to $1 million. So we were actually saving our city money, but then people just wanted to tear us down. And what I found out, a liberal system a lot of times don't want to support things that are a solution. A lot of people get paid off of dysfunction in our community. And people who have answers are often destroyed. And I'm not saying that I was perfect, because I sure wasn't perfect. I was somebody who learned going down the road, because we didn't have that leadership I told you about, who mentored the young black men and taught them how to do a lot of these things. So sometimes I wasn't perfect. But one thing I would never do is lie to the people or steal from the people. But I will always try to uplift the people. And as long as you do those 3 things, you can never go astray.
You know, I want to come back to the fact that you believed in the Democratic message.
Yes.
The liberal message.
Yes.
You bought into it hook, line, and sinker. You were converted. Never leave.
Born into it.
Born into it. But now you're running as a civil rights Republican. You know, it does my heart good. Because why? Because I do think that this city needs to be open and receptive to Republicans, because they have good ideas too. And obviously something is not working in this liberal democratic way of thinking. So I celebrate the fact that you're running. What triggered your leaving, though?
Well, I started conceptually looking at this back maybe 5 years ago when we were doing the civil rights tours, taking young people to meet people who were with King, like Amelia Borkins Robinson, Bevel, Rebel Orange, Boone, Tuskegee Airmen. We get to meet all these great people. And what I found, a lot of them were Republicans. I thought they were crazy. I said, y'all with them racist people and this people and that people. But then, one thing I do is I pay attention to the bottom line. And I started looking at the fact that they said that you have to be self-dependent. Everybody who comes to America, none of them practice the principles of the Democratic Party.
You're listening live to the Armstrong Williams Show, WTNT. AM 730. Ron Moten is our guest. He's a candidate for Ward 7 Council. So listen, tell us, did they see you as a traitor?
Well,
did they see you as just rebelling against what they would say made you into the person you are today, that you benefited from them, and then all of a sudden, but you believe in growth. You believe in what is in the best interest of your city and the people, and you're not willing to abandon or stay with the philosophy that doesn't work in empowering people if it is not in the best interest of people. No matter how much you may have invested in the liberal ideology, you are not so wedded to it that you are not willing to re-examine it, to question it, to see, is this in the best interest of my life and others going forward?
Well, I wish most of the Republican leadership would see that most people are like me. When you go into the urban communities and the disfranchised people, they not have no allegiance with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. All you got to do is reach out to them. And what I found out is people in my community, they might not like the R, but they can never take away from the work that I've done. So what people have tried to do is destroy my character instead of build me up, because they know when I walk in the community, people listen. They know that I've registered more people in the Republican Party in 1 month than has been done in the last 20 years. So anybody who can do that is a threat. So if people
When's the last time we had a Republican to win in the nation's capital?
Carol Schwartz, but we've never had a Republican win east of the river in Ward 7 and 8 to my knowledge. So this is the first time in history that we really have an opportunity, because the Democratic Party moved the primary up from September to to April, so that no incumbent in the Democratic Party would have a chance to beat them, because they knew they were going to have a rocky year with all the scandals. But by them moving the primary up, what it did was help another person from another party have a chance, because now we get a chance to go head to head with the Democratic Party and run a real platform, a real campaign, and we have a chance to win if the people get behind me, if the people support me. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but come around Ronald Moten for the day and you'll see that I'm sincere and I'm in the best interest, not of just the people of the District of Columbia, but our country. We only have 13% of the African American population who voted for the Republican Party. If we want to bring about change, we need to come and get people like me.
I have to tell you, I am trying to be objective, but I'm really rooting for what you're representing. I think it's important to have this kind of change. And I hear you have an overwhelming amount of sort of support among young people. You are galvanizing them. You're giving them hope that there's a possibility that they can have a future here.
That's all they want is hope, Armstrong. I mean, let's be real. If none of us had any hope, there's no telling what we would be doing.
Amen.
If none of us had principles installed upon us that our ancestors had, whether you Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or whatever, the principles that come from our ancestors are key. The principles about being righteous, about telling the truth, about when you make a sin, to, just humble yourself and bow down. Remember the scripture, I never forget it. If my people will humble themselves and pray,
call by my name.
Yeah, and call my name. He talks about healing their wicked land. And right now, we need to humble ourselves and pray and ask God to uplift us. And what greater principles to be uplifted by than the ones I'm following now?
And I just want all those that are Ron's opposition and run against him, because I really don't even know you're running against. I don't really follow it that closely. They're welcome to get equal time on our airwaves. That's what we have to do. They're welcome to come and tell their story on the Armstrong Williams Show. We would be more than happy to have them. We always treat people fairly. We want to hear their perspective, because listen, for anybody that run for public office, it's a sacrifice. They make a great sacrifice, and I respect that. All of them. Yes, it is a huge sacrifice that they make to serve the city. But again, I just want you to know that we wish you well.
Thank you.
Because it's good to see good people involved in things where good people are needed. And they need something different in this city. And I'm so glad that you've decided to let people know there's nothing wrong with being a Republican.
And there's nothing wrong with being a good Democrat. But I just think the principles. I
agree with you.
I think the principles of the party of the Republican Party is what America needs right now.
But your principles are no longer in that Democratic Party.
Oh no!
And you had to leave. You had to find a new home.
Well, if something doesn't work, it's insanity to keep on doing it over and over again. So it can't work for me. So I'm not gonna go and lie to my children and my people. I mean, now it might work for somebody else, but this showed me. When I asked most Democrats in my community why you're a Democrat, and they couldn't tell me, then I already know I was in the wrong place.
People know their truth when they hear it. They know a sincere person when they hear them. And you've got a good heart. You've got a good spirit. And you know what? I see the Lord working on you. Oh, and when the Lord's working on you, you have no place to go but up.
Well, continue to pray for me.
All right, Ron Moten.
Pray for you.
Ron Moten. Thank everyone for joining us. We want to thank our earlier guest, Joseph Vaughn. I'm Armstrong Williams, WTNT, AM 730.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moten. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoten.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance,